We just had a huge XRP price pump on what seems like virtually no news. In this video, I want to talk about exactly what happened and where we can expect XRP to go from here. There's actually a critical level right now coming into play. I want to talk about what I expect for XRP breaking through this level, where it stands, and some pretty exciting news that isn't being reported on. Like always, your support means so much to this channel. Thank you to everyone who takes the time to like these videos and subscribe to the channel. These two simple things really do help me out so much. With that said, though, let's jump right into it, and I hope you guys enjoy the content. So like I said, we are going to jump into the price chart in a minute, but I want to cover some pretty interesting news that came across the finish line that not a lot of people are talking about. The first thing is that Ripple just actually put in their application, or at least their application was filed, for them to become a national trust bank. Now, pretty crazy to actually see this on paper, but here we are. Ripple National Trust Bank just hit the OCC filing, so here we go. Ripple is going to apply to be a national trust bank, which is obviously extremely exciting. Now, I don't think a lot of people fully understand why Ripple is applying for a national trust bank. A lot of people think, oh, Ripple is going to start taking in deposits like a normal bank, but I don't really think that's going to be the case. What Ripple really wants is to provide guarantees to people using their RLUSD stablecoin or their other payment products. One of the problems with not being a bank, and this is something that not a lot of people are aware of, but when you're using anything like Coinbase or any kind of just retail level exchange, and it's not a banking institution, you're essentially giving your crypto to that institution. They can't hold deposits on your behalf. And one of Ripple's problems with RLUSD right now is they want RLUSD to be seen as a premium deposit feature, right? Anyone who goes and gets RLUSD, they are entitled to that money. And without them being a bank, they really can't make that guarantee. The thing with a stablecoin is you want the highest quality stablecoin out there. You want to have the most guarantees, the highest premium on that dollar-denominated internet unit. So what Ripple's doing is trying to provide as much guarantees to people using the RLUSD stablecoin as possible, so it's a no-brainer that people would want to use that stablecoin. Now, I don't want to go too much on a tangent here, but one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand as well is the benefit of having stablecoins on the XRP ledger. There's been a lot of narratives flying around that, oh, stablecoins are bad for XRP and it takes away from XRP. Guys, just always remember, the XRP ledger was designed from the start with tokenization in mind. It was the first blockchain out there to have tokenization features. In something like 2015 or 2016, Brad Garlinghouse came out and said, financial institutions, governments, none of these people are going to give up their access to the dollar, right? They are not going to give up their sovereign currency. We need to design a blockchain where USD and these different forms of value can move seamlessly across it and exist in the new decentralized financial system. Ripple's plan has always been to bring these different forms of value onto the blockchain. So when people get all concerned about RLUSD taking away from XRP, they're not understanding that this is how the XRP ledger was designed. The XRP sits as liquidity between these different forms of value, making it so that all of these swaps and this settlement can happen instantaneously with an infinite source of liquidity. You need more liquidity, XRP's price just goes higher. That creates more liquidity to facilitate more transactions without having to create separate pairs between each different asset on the chain. So RLUSD is a critical step in the grand vision coming to play. And it's not competition or anything like that. What Ripple wants to do is make as many people want to hold and use RLUSD as possible, because that brings more people to the XRP ledger, therefore using more XRP as liquidity. A very critical piece. I don't see enough people talking about that. They're strapped in this narrative of XRP being a payments token, but it's just because Ripple used it as a payments token in the early days because there wasn't premium stablecoins. The end goal is for XRP to be the liquidity. And that is a much bigger value proposition, liquidity for every single asset class on Earth, than just being something that's used for payments or bouncing value back and forth. So I just wanted to highlight that before we jump into the next piece of news here. And that is that it looks like we could be in very close to the first XRP ETF finally going live. It looks like right now the ProShares XRP ETF is expected to launch somewhere around July 18th. This is obviously very exciting news because right now we're watching the XRP price pump off a $25 million inflow day, $30 million inflow day. I think these ETFs are going to bring in hundreds of millions of dollars into XRP in a very quick amount of time. So many people are going to look at these ETFs as a legitimization of XRP. Not actually how it works, right? But that's how people see it. All these different people in the traditional financial space are going to say, oh, wow, now there's this XRP ETF. That must mean that that's a legit cryptocurrency to invest into. Like I said, that's not actually how it works, but that's how it's going to resonate in people's heads. Most of the people in these traditional markets, they don't look at things like, oh, what is the issuance of the token? Or is this a new form of money like people look at Bitcoin as? They look at what's utility, what is going to solve problems, what is going to be beneficial to the future, what is something that actually makes sense to invest into. One of the advantages of XRP is Ripple's use case for XRP. It makes a lot of sense with a lot of people, especially wealthy people who have problems moving money, who understand the issues with settlement, who understand how outdated the legacy rails are. It's a very easy way for them to see utility of cryptocurrency. It's staring them right in the face. It's the things that they have encountered in their own life that has caused significant problems. By being able to deliver them a solution to these problems in the form of cryptocurrency is going to make it easier for them to invest into something like XRP than it is the rest of these cryptocurrencies. The utility and the use case for XRP is going to be blatantly obvious to these people in a way that surprisingly hasn't been so obvious to people in the legacy cryptocurrency industry. In legacy crypto, it's all just degen, NFTs, and all these things that don't seem like they make any sense. But it's been fairly obvious that the institutions don't look at things the same way. They see these things as dumb and they don't make any sense. But if you start to show them actual value, things that make sense, things that solve problems they're running into, they're going to look at these things in a completely different light. So it's just something that's super important to be paying attention to. It's a huge shift in the way people are going to look at these assets. And I don't think there's going to be anything more obvious to them than something like XRP. It speaks to the exact problem that they're used to dealing with on a daily basis. And that's going to cause an inherent recognition of the importance of XRP and cryptocurrency in general. I think this is going to make it really easy for these XRP ETFs to attract a lot of money flowing in, the likes we probably have never seen before in the XRP ecosystem. Now, if we're to take a quick look at the XRP price chart, we can see that the big level right now is $3. We had XRP pump super aggressively up to the $3 mark, and then we kind of just bounced back off of it and now we're reconsolidating. I do think this is going to be the big level for XRP to break. It was our first stop when we first started making that big pump in December of 2024. We spiked up and hit it again in March of 2025, and now we're coming back up to test it again. There is a big sell wall here at $3. But what I anticipate is over the next couple of days, we will continue to make pushes bouncing off of this thing until eventually we can consolidate through and break all the way out. Now, the good news is we are fully past our previous support pattern that was holding us down for the longest time. It was creating a descending pattern. We broke through that with a parabolic action, and now we're just getting stopped out at this new $3 mark. I don't think that's going to last very long. I think very quickly we are going to have XRP retesting that, especially with the amount of news we're talking about here that is all going to contribute to XRP, right? Having levels of inflows to really push it through these previous walls before those inflows were ever there. We're entering a new paradigm for the cryptocurrency market, and it's going to cause charts to do things that they hadn't done previously. Now, one of the things that is still a potential issue is actually Bitcoin dominance. We can see right now, earlier today, Bitcoin dominance had a huge fall, and it looked like we were in a potential reversal pattern. But it does look like it's kind of spiking and getting some momentum back to the upside. Bitcoin dominance is really the biggest thing holding down the cryptocurrency market right now, specifically things like XRP. So we'll see if this turns into a cascading sell-off or Bitcoin dominance continues to go higher. I don't really see how it could. If we zoom out and take a broader look at Bitcoin dominance, we can see that this thing has been on an absolute tear and stuck in an upward trend. Bitcoin dominance is not going to be going much higher. I can guarantee that. Pretty soon there's going to be a collapse on Bitcoin dominance as this rolls into other cryptocurrency assets. It's always what happens. We're right at the level right now where it starts to make a lot of sense seeing Bitcoin dominance collapse on itself. I'm shocked it hasn't happened yet, but these trends are not sustainable. Every single time Bitcoin dominance goes on a run like this, we ultimately see it breaking down to the downside. And as there's more utility brought through all these different blockchains, through stablecoins, tokenized assets, and people just understanding that cryptocurrency is a lot more useful than just holding it and doing nothing with it, we are going to see a lot of money flow into these other assets, bringing Bitcoin dominance down to much lower levels. Now, I've talked about this a lot on the channel. I don't think this means Bitcoin's going away, but what it does mean is you are going to see the entire market appreciating to levels where Bitcoin doesn't make up 64% of the market. This is like an early days thing. This is what you saw in the very early days of the internet era, right? Things like Apple, Amazon, these companies making up the vast majority of the market cap of the internet sector. It's just because not a lot of people know about the other things. They don't understand the inherent values of all these different companies doing all these different things. It's still hard for people to wrap their head around the utility. It's hard for them to even invest in these other cryptocurrency assets. But that day is changing quickly. Things like market clarity, infrastructure, things like institutions coming out and actually showing what they're doing with these different chains. These are going to be the things that cause mass speculation to come into these other assets as people realize there's a whole different side to the cryptocurrency industry they were unaware of. Guys, with that said, I hope everyone has a great weekend. And for now, Mickle out.